All right, we're good to go.
This is a call to order of IDA board meeting Thursday, July 10th, 2025 at 1:31 p.m. What's on the agenda today? Look like we had two resolutions.
We'll start with a roll call.
Okay, roll call.
Okay, Director Fall,
Yes.
Director King,
Present.
Director Neal,
Present.
Director Zarelli, Director Seward, and Chair Young.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay. You gonna
Next,
take
we have the
resolutions? First resolution.
Chair Young. Next, we have the approval of the minutes.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion that the minutes from our last meeting be approved with any corrections.
So moved.
We get a motion and a second.
I second.
All right, we have a motion from Zarelli and a second from Neal. Director
I'll
Fall,
Yes.
Director King,
Aye.
Director Neal,
Sustain.
Director Zarelli,
Aye.
and Chair Young.
Aye. Okay. Next on the agenda,
Next, we have Metropolitan Villages.
okay.
Thank you. The project is Metropolitan Village Apartments. This is a resolution authorizing certain amendments, and the resolution number is 25 IDA 08. The bond amount will be up to $13,860,000, and this will authorize certain amendments to the multifamily housing revenue bonds issued in 2023 for the Metropolitan Village Apartments. The original use of funds was to finance the acquisition and rehabilitation of the apartments located at 3114 Franklin Avenue. And the original total project cost was $24.8 million. There were low-income housing tax credits, an MHDC home loan, National Housing Trust Fund loan, all contributing to this project as well. The developer, Metropolitan Village Preservation LLC. The borrower was Metropolitan Village Preservation LLC with Metropolitan Village MM LLC as the managing member. Property manager is the Sandstone Group. Bond counsel is Waylon Watson of Gilmore and Bell. And the original multifamily housing revenue series 2023A bonds and series 2023B bonds were issued on April 28th, 2023. The Series A bonds were issued in the original principal amount of $8,525,000, and the B bonds were in the maximum principal amount of $5,335,000. The borrower and the owner of the Series A bonds desired to move a portion of the principal amount of the Series B bonds, which is potentially up to the full principal amount, to the Series A bonds. So this will increase the amount of the Series A bonds to an amount not to exceed $13,860,000. In connection with the increase in the principal amount of the Series A bonds, the interest rate is also being increased from 5.7% to a new rate that is currently expected to be between 6.15 and 6.3%. These modifications require the IDA to enter into an amended and restated indenture of trust, an amended and restated loan agreement, and an amended and restated Series A promissory note, and certain other documents. UMB Bank is the trustee for the Series A bonds. The additional principal amount being added to those bonds will be purchased by Mizuho Capital Markets, LLC. This was the original purchaser of the Series A bonds via FMS bonds and still owns all of the Series A bonds that are currently outstanding. The original Series B bonds were purchased and are still owned by Midwest Regional Bank. So upon the closing of the proposed amendments, Mizuho Capital Markets will purchase all or a part of the Series B bonds from Midwest Regional Bank, representing the portion of the principal amount of the Series B bonds being transferred over to the Series A bonds. Any remaining balance of the Series B bonds not purchased by Mizuho Capital Markets will be concurrently redeemed in full. And so the attached resolution is there for your consideration. And we do have Waylon Watson of Gilmore and Bell who is present if there are questions.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Why are you doing this? Why not just have them buy the B bonds and leave them where they are? Tell us why this whole transaction is taking place.
Yeah, so this is Waylon Watson again, bond counsel to the IDA on this transaction, and Tori Spray with the developer is also on, so I can let her address some of maybe more of the background on why this is happening. But excuse me, part of the reason we are doing this, or really the main reason, is the borrower ended up in a situation with the rent modifications that they got from HUD, allowed them, basically made the debt service on the project relative to revenues more favorable for them to allow the project to support more long-term debt. When these bonds were originally issued, the B bonds were set up to mature on a short-term maturity that, well, they were originally supposed to mature in April, and that maturity was temporarily extended out while we got these modifications done. The A bonds are a long-term maturity that mature in April of 2063. But because the two bond issues were separate bonds for tax purposes, they have very different terms and with respect to payment and interest rates and everything else. So we're essentially consolidating a portion of the Series B bonds that they want to move over as long-term debt into the existing A bond. So basically consolidating the existing A bond, a portion of the B bond, all into a new reissued bond for one amount that all has the same payment terms, interest rate, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and I can jump in to add some more details. When we originally closed this deal in 2023, we typically have our whatever rent increase we're getting from HUD at closing, but the way that this deal was structured, we were going to get this rent increase that we knew from HUD after rehab was complete. So we finished the rehab in December and got this rent increase that we had sort of underwritten to, but we weren't sure of the exact amount. And so in our operating agreement with the LP in the project, there was written that we could have an additional $1.5 million of bonds allocated to this project. And since the rent increase, and that was all hindering on this rent increase from HUD. So they just held back that bond amount essentially until we got the rent increase, which has come through as of January 1st when we finished the rehab. And so then, as Waylon just described, it was rather than have two series of the A bonds, we're just consolidating it. But it's essentially $1.5 million plus fees that was agreed upon at closing once we got this rent increase from HUD.
Yeah, and one thing I will clarify is that really the A bond holder is buying the B bond or some portion of the B bond. So part of the B bond will be paid off and whatever is left outstanding will be purchased by the A bond holder. And then that's when the existing A and B bond at that point will be consolidated into a single bond. So they are buying the B bond. It's just sort of all happening concurrently and on the same day, and will ultimately result in just one single bond to make it easier for the Series A bond holders administration of the loan.
I have a question, if I may. Why, what was the interest rate on the B bonds?
The interest rate on the B bonds is currently 6.25%, I believe.
And the A,
The A
Okay.
bonds the A bonds have been at 6% up until now. As part of these modifications, the terms that the borrower have negotiated with the Series A bond holder is the rate on the new bond, once everything is consolidated, will be somewhere between 6.15 and 6.30%, depending on the total amount of principal that is ultimately moved over. They've sort of tiered their interest rate proposals depending on how much of the principal amount of the Series B bonds is brought over.
And it
We're
looks like
currently-
that should be 6.25 should be.
Yeah, that we're currently
the
expecting they will
rate.
land at the 6.25.
So current shareholders of the A bonds are getting a boost in overall payment or interest on the bonds, and they're trying to make it up with bringing the B bonds into A bonds. Is that what I'm understanding?
Well, no, it's just they're agreeing to increase the amount of their permanent loan on the project because the B bonds are owned by a completely separate bank who is providing that loan. And so in essence, what has
Okay.
happened is based off the rent changes that Tori was explaining, the A bond holder has agreed to increase the amount of their loan that they will provide to the project. So the way they are accomplishing that, because there's really only two ways to do it. One way is to issue new bonds, which is more time consuming and expensive. The other way is to purchase, which is what they're doing, purchase a portion of the B bonds, and then we will convert that into long-term debt and consolidate it into the existing A bond. And as
And to
part of
provide
their,
some-
oh, sorry, I was going to say, as part of their agreement to increase the principal amount, they wanted an adjustment to the interest rate as part of that because it's obviously different than the loan they originally underwrote.
And also just to provide some background, the B bonds were originally essentially a construction loan during the rehab, while the A bonds are the permanent mortgage on the project.
Yeah, because I'm not seeing that done before where they raise the interest rate on the existing bonds, but it's really buying the Bs completely out and just getting a rate that's comparable to the A shares. The old A shares are not going to get an increase, correct?
The total
current A
amount,
share.
the full amount of the total A shares, both the original and the new amount that's added is all going to be 6.25% now. And that's just the way the investor explained it to us, or our lender's investor has sort of, it's just their requirement for their new yield requirements, which have changed since the deal was originally underwrote in 2023. So with the increase, this is sort of what Waylon said. It's what they negotiated in order to meet their needs today, as opposed to 2 years ago with the added amount.
Thank you.
Any other questions, directors? Okay. I'll entertain a motion that we approve 25 IDA 08.
Second.
All those in favor? Roll call. There we go.
Okay. Sorry, hold on one second. I think we have Director Seward on the public side. He's on the call now. Okay. Director Fall?
Was Mr. Seward there? Before I vote, was Mr. Seward there to give any comment if he wanted to? I know he was switched on the other side. I just want to make sure director had an opportunity to ask a question or make a comment before voting if he was not able to before.
I was unable to, but I have no questions or comments.
Okay. Just want to make sure that everybody has their role to play, so I appreciate it. Then voting on the motion, I'll vote yes.
Thank you. Director King?
Aye.
Director Neal?
Aye.
Director Zarelli? Director Seward?
Aye.
And Chair Young?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay.
And next we have Delmar Divine.
Thank you. Project is Delmar Divine Phase 2. This is the final approval and issuance resolution for multifamily housing revenue bonds. The resolution number is 25 IDA 09. bond amount is up to $30 million, and the funds will be used to purchase, construct, extend, and improve an 81-unit multifamily housing development located at 5558 Enright Avenue. Total project cost is $50,962,808. There is additional public assistance in the form of federal historic tax credits, state historic tax credits, an MSD grant, an LCRA loan, and there's also a sales tax exemption on the construction materials, which is, the reduction is included in the construction costs. And a tax abatement has also been approved for the project. SLDC has received a letter of support from Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. The developer is Seneca CRE LLC. The borrower is Delmar Divine Phase 2. Lipton, a division of Involve, it will be the property manager, and Waylon Watson and Bill Burns of Gilmore and Bell are bond counsel, with Stiefel as the underwriter. And the bonds are expected to be publicly offered by Stiefel and will be purchased by Cedar Rapids Bank and Trust after completion of construction pursuant to a forward bond purchase agreement. This project was brought to you a few weeks ago for the initial approval. And so the resolution is attached for your consideration.
Has there been any change in the last couple of 3 weeks?
Any questions, Director?
The change.
We have Alex Keeling on who represents the developer that may be better able to answer that question.
I'm sorry, I
Could
didn't hear the
could someone-
question.
Yeah, could someone restate the question? Thank you.
Just want to know if there's been any major changes since we approved it a couple, 3 weeks ago.
He's asking if there have been any major changes since it was approved a few weeks ago.
No, no changes.
And what was that answer?
There have been no changes since in the last few weeks or months or so. No substantial changes.
Yep, and so that would be the case on kind of the overall project plans and from the bond counsel standpoint, no changes to the proposed legal structure or anything that was presented as far as who's buying the bonds, the relative terms of the bonds. Those are consistent with what Larry presented a few weeks ago as well.
Director Fall has a question.
Yes, I have I guess three questions on the documents that were presented to us a couple of weeks ago. I mentioned at the time that there were some deficiencies that were noted, I believe, in the tax information or application for tax information submitted by Mr. Chapman. Have those been have those deficiencies been corrected, or if they're, I don't know if they're wrong or just incomplete or whatever, have they been resolved? I guess is the
Alex, I think I know what this is, but I'll turn it over to you after so Director Fall, I believe that was in the application materials that the developer provided to the IDA what they had originally submitted to MHDC to get their tax credits as part of their application to the IDA. So I think probably they received something back probably at the end of last year from MHDC stating that they needed to fill out an IRS form to get fully through. Alex, you can update us on the process, but they're very close with MHDC to getting the firm commitment on their tax credit application. So whatever that deficiency was, and I apologize, I can't remember the number of the form you cited.
it looks like an 8821.
Yeah, I suspect that's been taken care of, but I'll turn it to Alex.
Yeah, and I know I've seen it. I was looking through some other records, so I know we have 8821 tax forms from each of the principals. And otherwise, I'll say from MHDC, from their checklist that they've sent to me, they're not asking for any of those tax forms specifically. They're looking for what would be documents on the upcoming closing that's planned with future, but no, haven't cited any deficiencies.
Okay. Okay. I was the second point I had, and is I guess kind of tied to the first point, because which is the overall question is whether or not these things affect our ability, if for some reason there is a deficiency with the MHDC portion, does our portion still go through? And in the Tefra minutes, there's someone brought up that it was unclear as to whether the $1.6 million LCRA loan was actually approved and gone through. I understand that that's not our portion of it, but I would think that our portion of it takes into consideration whether or not that 1.6 million from our LCRA had actually been approved. Is that indeed the case, or are we still waiting and don't know? Or if we're waiting, is our portion here that we're voting on dependent on the LCRA and MHDC portions, or are we just completely, do we not take that into consideration at all, I guess is the broader question.
So Alex, okay if I answer on the MHDC side first and then you handle LCRA? Yeah, so from our standpoint on the bond side, after you approve this, there will be no closing until MHDC is fully signed off and authorized closing and award of the tax credits.
Okay.
The credit investors just won't close on anything. And so on the other side of that, the bond lenders will not close until they know the credit investors are fully obligated to provide those funds as part of the project.
So our vote here is still contingent then, saying we're okay with it, but it's not going to happen if MHDC's portion isn't go through first.
Right. I'd say
Okay.
I mean, your approval would be final, but there will be no closing until MHDC is also fully signed off and approved.
Okay. And on the LCRA portion?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, I think it's a similar position. I guess I would characterize it as we have a capital stack with various sources of funds coming in. The LCRA portion is part of the capital stack. We, don't plan on coming back to the IDA board to ask for any additional funds or any additional approval, but the LCRA loan is still part of the capital stack, and I believe that the commissioners have been visiting the proposed, project and the phase one, and so I'm confident there, but it is still pending technically with the LCRA.
Okay, so that 1.6 million has not actually been awarded yet.
I guess I would, just to be somewhat technical with that.
Please.
There's an existing loan from the LCRA, and so we're requesting a modification of the existing loan, right? And so it has been awarded. The money has already technically been lent and was lent years ago to buy the land from the LCRA in the first place.
It was like approximately $2.5 million loan there.
That's right. And there's been some amounts have been paid back. Some, amounts are being asked to be transferred to a different entity. But for phase two, it would be 1.6 million is the request.
And that's 1.6 additional, so for a total of 4 million from the LCRA, and we're waiting on the additional 1.6.
No. Pardon me. I believe that's the total. And this is a loan that was already advanced. It's asking LCRA to essentially modify their loan terms to meet what's needed for a light tech development.
Okay, but the Tefra comment is correct that modification is not yet happened, but it's part of the total package of incentives. So
that's right.
Am I understanding that correctly?
Correct.
Okay. And then my last is more of a, thank you for answering those, both of you. My last is more of a comment, but it's one I brought up and I bring up often, making sure that people that work on these projects that we're helping to finance are making the applicable prevailing wages, and that are to the extent that we can do it, that we're enforcing city ordinances regarding the demographic makeup of our the workforces on these projects, that we're supporting the city and we have a workforce that reflects the city, and we're training people for the future. I know in phase one, there was a subcontractor on phase one that currently has some prevailing wage charges against them. And I just want everybody to know that I take that very seriously, and want to make sure that whatever contractors and subcontractors are working on this job are paying people the prevailing wage and hiring people in the and training people the way the city ordinances reflect for MWBE participation, not just for contractors, but for actual men and women, you know, holding the wrench and swinging the hammer, so to speak, and making the wages that they are due. So, thank you for your time and the explanation on my other 2 points. However, though, I appreciate the time.
Thank you.
I have a quick question. It's kind of to piggyback on the first question that Director Fall asked. It's probably more procedural. If we're going to vote on this today and we're not coming back to know that that's the final approval's done, should we have in our motion that it is approved upon meeting the MHDC's requirements? All requirements are met before any other closings?
I may defer to James on this, but I'll think out loud a little bit. I mean, I think because the bonds won't close unless all of those MHDC requirements are met, you basically have that implicitly in the resolution currently, but we could certainly revise it to make that clear.
That's the situation is faced in every single bond deal, that there is a parameters resolution that's adopted that's implicitly you're not going to close on the deal unless the rest of the capital stack comes through. And that's the same for, I'm sure, every other lender that's involved in the transaction. So I don't believe it's necessary to revise the resolution. It's simply operation of the finances. IDA and the bond lenders won't close unless the MHDC tax credits come through and there's one global closing.
Thank you.
Any other questions, directors? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion that we approve 25 IDA 09.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Director King moves, Zarelli seconded. I'll do the roll call. Director Fall,
Yes.
Director King,
Aye.
Director Neal, Director Zarelli, Director Seward,
Aye.
and Chair Young.
Aye. Okay. Anything else on the agenda?
Next, we have open agenda, and Chris is going to speak. He's on his way.
Good afternoon. Nothing real new. Normally at this meeting, I present the budget to you all. SLDC has not taken action on their budget yet. That will be next week. So thought it was appropriate to wait. That's how we do for the smaller agencies. So be expecting a budget next meeting. But just a quick synopsis. We finished the year in revenues of over $500,000. I think that's one of our bigger years. Cash, so really, you take in bond fees and we pay an administrative fee to SLDC. That's what IDA does. So revenues of over 500 and cash, sitting on cash of right at 600. So in good shape. That will be reflected, of course, in our administrative fee that we pay to SLDC, but we will present that to you next month. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any other?
May I may I make a quick comment on that, please?
Absolutely.
Because could we see the minutes from what SLDC is requesting from the IDA and how they came to the calculation of whatever number that you're going to present next month?
Yes, we'll present the overall SLDC budget. It'll be part of the packet. And although Mr. Reed is not here, there is a representative of this board that sits on the SLDC board. But yes, we will bring you, I won't bring you all the detail of the SLDC budget, but I will bring you the SLDC budget overall page.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other items?
Nope, that was the last one.
Okay. I'll move for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All right.
Okay. See you next month.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.